What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 2 of the Uncut mini series that I've got going on, where it's basically like you're sitting in the boat with me. I'm doing live commentary on just about the entire day that I'm fishing, so you get my on the water thoughts about why I'm catching fish, why I might not be catching fish, and kind of the conditions that I'm fishing right now here in Texas. So if you aren't in Texas, you've probably already gone through some of this. I know up north it's already snowing, icing some places. But if you're like me down here in Texas and you just want to learn a little bit more about fishing, stay tuned, because this series is a lot of fun to film and it's a lot of fun to edit. So y'all stay tuned. If you aren't subscribed, definitely please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. I've got some big things coming here in the future, so y'all subscribe, leave a like on the video, and I'll catch you in here. Alright guys, this day was really windy. The conditions were blowing around between 15 to 20 mile per hour winds. As you can see, I'm in a pretty small boat. I figured it would be pretty tough just to get a few bites today. You know, the bite from last video is dying out. I only got, I think, 6 bites, or 5 keeper bites and like a couple shorts. But today I figured it would be just about the same thing. Temperatures are between low 80s to around 75-ish, so not bad conditions. I figured the fish should be eating, actively chasing and stuff. So I made my way over to the little cut here and started working my up, fighting the wind. It kind of kept me in the same spot pretty good. I used the bait. I used the lipless crankbait and the chatterbait a lot today. And I could really kind of fight the wind, you know, use the resistance from the bait to kind of keep me in the same place. But as you can see here, we're not getting a lot of bites. We're just going down the bank and just kind of, you know, throwing where we can with the high percentage baits that we have. The chatterbait again, you know, I can slow it down a little more, and then the lipless crankbait's great for getting those reaction strikes in the fall time. There's too much grass for something like a square bill, so anything that dives down really didn't work that much. But I think here we go. We're coming up to a little catch here. No, psych, it's just a bag. You know, I try my best to get all the junk and stuff out of the water that I can, so I just threw it in the back of the boat. And we skip along here. I went all the way back down to that corner without a bite, and here we are. We're going to keep going down this bank, and I figured that the fish should be up here feeding, but it turned out that they really weren't. Unfortunately, you know, I'm still just chucking and winding. This bank hasn't really produced for me in the past, especially in the fall time, but come wintertime and summertime, those fish are always up next to the bank here, and you know, they just weren't there this time. So I went all the way down. You know, I said I normally won't skip around and stuff, but I went all the way down and all the way back up without a single bite, which is really surprising. But right here I get my first bite on a lipless crankbait. So here we go. Here's the cast. Really long cast, guys, to really maximize how much water I can cover at a single time. During this fall period, I really like making long casts, and I use the favorite hex rod, 7.5 medium heavy, and I've got 15 pound Seagar Abrase X on a Metanium DC, and I can really launch this bait out there. And if I remember correctly, this was a pretty good one. I think this is actually the biggest of the day, right around 3 and some change. There we go. Could have boat flipped him, but just grabbed the line. That Abrase X is super strong, super tough, so I'm able to do that. So there's a good one there. 1/2 ounce lipless crankbait. It's the Shizzle color. So if you're very familiar with Strike King, the Shizzle is actually one of my favorite colors. All times of the year, it mixes a great bait fish pattern with a little bit subtle greenness to it, so it kind of looks like a you know, regular bait fish, like a shad. So it's got a little green tint to it on top. But as you can see here, this pull, generally I can pull one off of it on like a drop shot or like a little crappie jig or something. Nothing on it today. You know, I hit it twice going back down the bank, but we're going down, and honestly throwing a little whopper plopper as well. I think I'm gonna actually cut in here a little bit and kind of explain some of my bait choices. But I did have top water on. I figured if they're actively feeding, they should hit it, but apparently right now they're not actively feeding, and I know in the next episode that I already recorded, top water just isn't it right now apparently. But I will let you know pretty soon here. I'm going to title it something like Top Water's Back On or something like that. If I do get a top water bite, you know, I'm going to take full advantage of that. So going back down into the shallower part of the pond here, There's a big old tree in the water here, and I figured there should be a fish next to it, but of course there's probably not. So we're going to keep going down, checking and winding. If you guys have any questions about, some of the baits that I'm throwing, kind of some things in the fall time. So this is actually right past the tree, and I guess I did get a bite here, pulled one off. But if you guys have any questions, comment them down below. I really enjoy making these. I let the camera run all the time, and big thanks to YOLO Tech. And you'll be hearing some news about them here shortly, but I use the YOLO Tech juice box to record all my videos out in the water here, and I've got the Tacticam fisheye camera, and in one of my new update videos, got some news with YOLO Tech and Tacticam, so we'll see. Alright, what's going on, guys? Sam Climber here, back with another video, guys. Out of the wind today, actually, so I can actually kind of talk to the camera. Out here at the pond, we're going to do another episode of the UNCUT series here. I'm trying to keep these videos as just original vanilla as I can. I'll speed up some areas where, I go through a while and don't catch a fish, but I definitely want to teach y'all a little bit about how I like to go through patterning a situation. Now, I already know a couple of the baits I have tied on, like the chatterbait, the lipless. They're really working this time of the year. Cover a lot of water, find those fish. But I also have a whopper plopper tied on, see if I can get a top water bite going. The water temperature is just about right. It's probably in the mid to high 60s right now. So top water should be a player in some of these situations here. As you could see, I caught two fish on a lipless, ripping one straight past like a log like this up in the water, like a post, and then the other one was just down off the bank somewhere probably on a grass line. But it's proven to be a little more difficult. I've hammered these fish for a couple weeks now. I'll go over the setups again if you don't know what I'm throwing, and this is your first time tuning in. This is my lipless setup, my fall lipless setup. This is typically what I throw my heavier chatterbaits, heavier spinnerbaits on. This is a favorite hex rod, 7.5 medium heavy, with the Shimano Metanium high-speed gear ratio, so it's only a 7.2 or something like that. But I can bring in a lot of line really quickly, so it really helps me, rip a lipless through the grass, rip chatterbaits through the grass, and really catch up with those fish, since they're moving super fast right now in the fall transition and fall bite. My chatterbait setup is going to be a favorite big sexy 7'2", and this is actually the LFG series, so you're lucky if you've got one because they stopped making them, but it's got a little more parabolic bend than this 7'2" here, or this is a 7-foot medium heavy, sorry. It's got a little more bend than the standard ones, and that's how LFG kind of built it, a little more high impact bait, so something like jigs and stuff, that rod tip will flex a little more, but I really like it. I can cast this bladed jig really far. It's just a Z-Man jackhammer with a Berkeley the Deal on it. Real slender shad profile. Water's a little stained, so I like that chartreuse on it. I think it's called green shad. I think that's the color. Really effective color this time of the year. Paired that up with Seagar, a Brazex, 17 pound, and then I've got 15 on my other one. Now for the top water rod, I've got a big sexy 7-foot medium heavy, and if you're wondering why I'm throwing it on a medium heavy, it's because I really like how the rod loads up, especially on top waters, like this with treble hooks, like buzz baits, poppers. It loads up quite a bit more than something like a heavy, and when I'm wrenching them in with the braid, it really allows a little cushion for that fish to flop around. So we're going to make a few more casts here. I tied down to the stump, and we're going to see if we can get on a couple more fish down this bank. Alright guys, I actually find it very interesting. This part of the pond here is extremely shallow, and I'm not exactly sure what the fish hold on. There must be some like rocks down there that are silted in but still can hold fish. Generally bass especially won't hold on silty bottoms. They really don't like it unless there's like vegetation or hard cover like that piece of wood or that rock there. I know there used to be weed lines there, but most of it's been taken out already. It's died because of the colder weather also. I know there are a few root systems down in there, and I know the fish should hold on that. But as I'm looking in the water here, I run Costa glasses so I can see pretty easily down under the water. I've got the glass lenses, and I'm literally not seeing any cover that they're holding on. But as I'm going down here, you see the rocks on the left side. So I'm guessing there's a few sunken down there with a light layer of silt. And those fish can, I guess, tell the difference between soft bottom and something right underneath the surface of that bottom of that silty layer, because I'm not seeing it. But still, I do get random bites like this, and I think this is on the chatterbait. It's just a little too shallow for the 1/2 ounce lipless crankbait, but here we go, we're getting one on the chatterbait. So nope, oh, it is a lipless. So as you can see, I have no idea most of the time, but that guy was on a lipless, came out of literally nowhere, probably 1/2 foot of water to chase my bait. So it's very interesting, the fish, how they set up and react. I'm still kind of figuring it out on this pond here, and some recent videos here coming up. I'm actually going crappie fishing, so be on the lookout for that. I have yet to record episode 4 of this Uncut series, but episode 3 is already recorded, and I'm still in the works of editing and all that. Alright, so after I caught that fish, I went a very, very long time without another bite. I'd say it was about 2 hours. I may have had one bite. I felt a little hit, and it kind of just, it felt like it tail whipped it, so it may have hit like a catfish or something, or completely missed it. I'm not exactly sure. I tried a lot of different things. I fished down on the flat area, I guess technically offshore as you can get in a pond, so I'm like sitting in maybe 6 foot of water on this flat, way out in the middle of the pond here. So make tons of casts, fan casting around. The wind was pushing me like crazy. Good thing I had an anchor. But I cycled through a bunch of baits, lipless crankbait, chatterbait. I even threw the topwater out here. Some days in the spring last year, they would be killing the topwater out in the middle here. So it generally happens when there's more grass, and it generally happens when there's a little more waves. But as you can see, I needed to skip around here, definitely move some parts around. But I'm starting to go back up towards the little cut on the right hand side. Didn't get anything. I'm back at that stump where I did the little talking thing, and as you can see, the wind's pushing the other direction, but I'm still fighting it with the bait. So just one way to cover good water, good amount of water, if you're don't have a trolling motor, don't want to paddle. If you're throwing a lipless crankbait, or even something with a bill, let's say you're fishing somewhere deeper, something with a bigger bill, you're going to be pulling against it. So just keep that in mind. So we're just going to keep going down here for a while. Not really sure what to talk about. Let's just plug the Instagram. If you aren't following me already, go find me on Instagram, Samuel_Claymer, or you can just type in my YouTube username, Charged Up Bass, and either one should pop up. Definitely put post notifications on. I post almost daily. It's very interesting depending on the amount of content I have, or the amount of content that I do make. It used to be daily posts. Now it's generally about every other day, but I do like to post a lot of stories. So keep you entertained and up to date with what's going on. I post more on Instagram than YouTube, obviously. But definitely keep up with me there. Also, if you don't have Instagram and you have Facebook, you can find me on there as well, Charged Up Bassin'. I got really bored, went on my phone for a little bit. These fish were not cooperating, but next episode, figured them out a little more, and then I've been doing some testing stuff, like I said earlier, with the crappie. And there are some massive crappie in this pond, and I plan to do a lot of other stuff in the future here as well. So there's going to be a bunch of new things that I'm doing, like YouTube shorts, maybe reels on Instagram, and also I've got that cool thing coming up with the Pursuit channel, and then little commercial series, little 2-minute segments on there. But as you can see, I'm extremely bored sitting down, no bites for like 2 hours. So you get to watch me sitting down for a little bit as I de-boredom myself. So here I am. Okay, so now we're going across the pond back to where we launch. There's a good portion of fish that always stay in this area. Again, it's a little flatter. There's a bit more of a drop off than the flat on the west side of the lake, which that's the way the camera's looking right now. So that's where the flat area is. East side's going to be a little deeper. And here I anchor down because I'm only sitting in maybe 7 foot of water, but there are a few remaining grass lines that those fish are holding on. And this little section here was all about making tons of casts. I probably made dang near 50 to 70 casts before getting a bite. And that's just how it is in the pond right now. The fish are really lethargic. If you can trick them into feeding, it's going to be a heavy bite. They're just going to hit it super hard, and you're going to know they're there. So here we go, coming up to a bite. There we go. So make that really far cast up to the bank. Try not to get snagged as soon as it hits the water. And we're going to burn it, give the fish a little different presentation to what just a straight retrieve, and he absolutely ate it. He was running at me. Wasn't that terribly big. I'd probably put it around the second or third biggest of the day. That first one we caught, I figured we were in for a really good day, but definitely not as the day progressed. So I think I weighed this one. It was probably right under 3. I think it was a 270, maybe 280. But he absolutely choked the crankbait. So not even going to move, just going to keep making tons of casts. And that's just how it is. So I'm going to let the footage roll for a little bit. My teeth are hurting a bit from these braces from talking so much. And if you can hear the slur, comment down below, because I'm not a fan of it, but I thought it'd be pretty funny for TV purposes. So we're going to let this roll for a little bit, and I'll catch you in about 20 seconds. Maybe I'll add some music. Alright, and we're back. And so I make the cast right down the side of that dock there. And I think this fish actually came off the dock. I've caught a ton of crappie on that dock, and I've caught a ton of bass off that dock as well. But that crankbait was probably about 20-30 feet in front of it by the time he hit it. So I think he either chased it out or probably didn't even come from it. I'm not sure. I imagine that's the only cover he would be sitting on, are those dock pilings. But I think this one was the smallest one of the day. I'm not quite sure. It looks like he's fighting pretty decent. But this was the last fish of the day, so this video is almost over. I know it's a long video, but that's just part of the Uncut series. I'm showing you my full day on the water, trying to minimize the amount of cuts in these videos, but I definitely learned a lot. I think those fish, again, I keep saying it, they're really inactive for the most part until you run a bait right past their face, and that's what I kind of pieced together near the end of the day. You really had to get that bait right next to them. I think this may have actually been a decent fish. It looks like I'm playing them pretty good. But those fish, they're very odd this time of the year. They have feeding windows, bite windows, I like to call them. Certain times of the day where you're going to get a majority of your bites. And in the fall time like this, I find that during a new moon, so this one was pretty good. During a new moon, they're going to be feeding up during very low light hours, so really early in the morning, and then they're going to pick up back around 11 to 1. For like full moon purposes, they're going to be feeding up all at night, so then the bite window I find is going to be between like 8 to 9, 9 to 10. So You kind of just find those little bite windows in the fall and try to get on those high percentage areas, throwing high percentage baits during those bite windows. And that's when I generally have more of my success here. So putting the boat up, I definitely will catch you in the next video. I think I'm going to be posting an update video. So if you're new to the channel, I'm going to be trying to do a rod and reel arsenal video here in a little bit also, so be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna try doing weekly uploads of just what's going on in the college life, and kind of maybe a little bit on the water stuff, but be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for Uncut episode 3. I'm also gonna be, I think, recording the high schooler stuff. We're going to be at Louisville probably by the time you see this, and then we're also going to go to Texoma on Sunday. Let me check my calendar here. We've got THSBA Louisville out of division the 13th, and then I think Texoma the 14th, and then the week after that, the 20th, we're going to be at Texoma for Grant and Tate's high school tournament. But without drawing this on any longer, we're at 20 minutes. I hope to catch you in the next episode. Definitely subscribe to the channel, follow the Instagram, the Facebook, and I'll see you next time.